Most people have this belief system that in order to lose weight, they need to completely sacrifice their social life. And as a result, they will go through their weight loss journey, skipping every social event, and they may see great results, but they absolutely hate their life in the process. Or on the flip side, they will allow themselves to enjoy every single social event. They will probably tell themselves that they're being balanced, but they will see no results. And they're never able to find that middle ground. So in this video, I'm going to run you through how to determine when you should enjoy yourself versus when you should focus on your goals. 2, how to manage yourself depending on which type of social event scenario you find yourself in. 3, how to manage your day of eating around your social events. And 4, arguably the most important one, how to manage your mindset before, during, and after the social event. Now, before we get started, just so that you know who I am, my name's Alan. Growing up, I went from underweight to overweight to then eventually losing 30 kilos and getting into the best shape of my life. And that process changed my life so much that now my mission is to help others achieve the same level of confidence and control that fitness gave me. Hence why I'm making this video. Let's get into it. Now, the first thing that you have to understand, let's say you want to lose anywhere from 10 to 20 kilos. That process is going to take you roughly 5 to 10 months. Now, it is completely unrealistic to think that over the span of 5 to 10 months, you are not going to have a single social event. So if you're approaching your weight loss journey with the mentality that you're going to skip every single social event or that you're going to sacrifice your social life, that is just completely ridiculous. I'm sorry, it's just ridiculous and it's not realistic. Now, on top of that, what you have to understand is most people don't really have a problem losing weight, but they actually have a problem with keeping it off. Let's be honest, anyone can lose weight. You can eat one meal a day, cut your calories down to 1200, cut carbs, do intermittent fasting, starve yourself, whatever you want to do. And you can probably lose weight very easily. But the problem is, are you able to develop the right knowledge, the right tools, the right mindset that enables you to stay consistent over the long term so that you can actually keep it off? So if you are someone who prioritizes not only losing weight, but keeping it off long term, then you need to learn how to develop the skill, and yes, it is a skill, of managing your social events. So if we can agree logically that throughout the period of you trying to lose weight and even after the period of you losing weight, you are probably going to have some level of social events. So as a result, if you never learn how to actually manage your social events, you will never be someone who's in control. And before we move on, this is so important because it gives you such a great level of control over your life. You don't want to be the type of person who goes to eat a meal out and you say things like, oh, this is my cheat meal. Or you say things like, I was really good throughout the week, so now I can eat this meal. Like, you don't want to think like that. If you think like that, you are not someone who's fully in control. So what you want to do is take the time, develop the right education, develop the right knowledge, develop the right tools so that you learn how to better manage your nutrition in general so that you can be someone who is consistent over the long term. So let's move on. Now, the first thing you need to understand that in order to lose weight, you must have a plan. And what I mean by a plan is that currently you must have 1, a calorie target, and 2, you must have some type of nutritional structure. Now, what I mean by nutritional structure is that every single day, you know what foods you're going to eat and you know how much of those food sources you're going to be eating. This is where weight loss starts. So again, in order to lose weight, you must be eating in a calorie deficit. So you must know what your calorie target is. And if you don't know what your calorie target is in order to lose weight, I'll leave a link in the description below, which takes you to my website, and you'll be able to use a calorie calculator, which will tell you what your calorie deficit should be if you just put in your stats. And then once you have your target, you need to have structure. So every single day, you know exactly what foods you're going to be eating and then what portions of those foods you need to be eating in order to hit your calorie target. Now, for the sake of this video, I am going to assume that you have this to some degree. And if you don't have this to some degree, then just message me on Instagram and I can send you over a example day of eating based on what your calorie targets are, just to give you a starting point. But let's assume that you do have this in place. So if you have a plan and you're trying to lose weight, that means that every single day you're trying to follow that plan. Now, whenever you have a day where you're going to a social event, you have to make a decision on, are you going to be compromising, meaning meaning that you are going to stick to your plan and stick to your goal, or are you going to be enjoying yourself? We have to be realistic here. And I always encourage people to take ownership. Let's be logical. If you go to a social event and you decide that you are going to eat and drink to your heart's content, you have to accept that you're naturally going to consume more calories. And as a result of that, you're probably not going to be progressing that much on that day. On the flip side, if you go to the social event and you make compromises, meaning that you eat less or you don't eat at all, it's fair to say that you will be able to adhere or stick to your calorie target. And as a result, you will see better progress on that day. But that is a decision that you have to make consciously. I think a lot of people make the mistake of going to a social event and they'll complain and say, oh my God, I have this goal and I can't enjoy myself. But the reality is you have a choice. You can either choose to enjoy yourself or you can choose to compromise and focus on the goal. And this is how I would guide you through that process. Every single social event falls on a scale of 1 to 10. Now this represents importance, right? Now 1 is the event is not that important, it's not that significant, and 10 meaning that it's extremely important. So as an example, if I was going to my best friend's wedding, that would probably be a 10. On the flip side, if I was going to lunch with a colleague that I saw every single day, then I would probably say that's around a 6. So now my rule of thumb is if a social event sits anything above an 8, then I will typically prioritize enjoying myself. But if a social event sits anything under an 8, then I will typically compromise and I will focus on my goals. I will focus on doing things that allows me to progress and stick to my calorie target. So on this side, it's enjoyment, and then on this side, it's compromise. So you can either prioritize compromising or you can prioritize enjoying yourself. What that might look like on either side of the coin is, in terms of enjoying myself, I might go to my best friend's wedding and I might not be that mindful. I might have drinks, I might eat, I might have fun. I'll just enjoy to my heart's content. I won't really be mindful of how much I'm drinking or how much I'm eating and how that's gonna impact my calories. I'll just enjoy. Whereas if I'm going to brunch with a colleague, compromise could be like, let's say I don't eat. I just order a coffee and I just have a chat with my colleague and I won't eat anything. Or alternatively, I might order something on the menu that is a little bit more calorie friendly or smaller in terms of portion size. I might order just toast on eggs, or I might order just a yogurt bowl or something like that, right? So that's what compromise looks like. There is nothing worse than having to make your decisions in the moment. You want to go to the social event pre-prepared, already making a commitment to yourself on what you're going to do. Like, you know how it is when you go to a social event, you have people asking you like, oh, why aren't you eating? Like, just take a bite, just do this, just do that. They start questioning your goals. So it's really important that you make this decision beforehand so that when you go to the social event, you know exactly what you're doing. Now, in this next section, I'm going to teach you how to manage each social event depending on what scenario you're in. We're going to talk about this in the context that you have chosen to compromise. And the reason why we are choosing to talk about this in this context, because if you are choosing to enjoy yourself, then I mean, I don't really have much else to add, right? You're probably just gonna go, you're gonna eat and drink, and then you're just gonna get back on track the next day. That's all you can really do, realistically. So now I'm gonna teach you how can you apply certain eating strategies based on what scenario you find yourself in. And you'll typically be able to find yourself in 2 scenarios. Scenario number 1 is that you are sharing food, and then scenario number 2 is you are not sharing food. So when it comes down to sharing food, this is like you go to a restaurant and you guys might order a bunch of different plates. You guys might order entrees, mains, desserts, all of that, and the food is just spread out and you just kind of like pick. Or you might go to an all-you-can-eat buffet as an example. Or you might go to a function and there's food everywhere and you kind of grab a plate and you just put food on your plate. Or you might be going to like a barbecue as an example. So that is sharing. Now, when it comes down to not sharing, this is basically when you go to a restaurant or you go to a specific place and you have the ability of picking one option or multiple options if you want, right? But most of the time you would pick one dish that you are going to eat yourself. So that's not sharing. Now, the principles that you would use across both scenarios are relatively similar but I'm gonna run through each one. For the sharing scenario, what you wanna rely on is mindful eating. This is the primary strategy we are going to utilize, because if you think about it, when you're in a scenario where food is everywhere, there is no way of you really being able to control your portions, right? So this is where you have to eat mindfully so that you put yourself in the best position possible to eat as minimal calories as possible so that you can stay within your goals. Now, the reason why I say mindful eating is because when you are in a sharing scenario, there is no way of you determining exactly how much you are going to eat. It's just impossible. So by you applying this list of mindful eating principles that I'm about to give you, you will put yourself in the best position where you can minimize the amount of calories that you eat. And as a result of that, it puts you in the best position possible to eat within your calorie goals. Number one, and this is the most important one, you always want to eat until you're 70% full. Common sense. The reason why is because if you eat till you're 100% full, then you are going to naturally eat more calories. If you eat until you're 70% full, then you are naturally going to eat less calories. But eating until 70% full still puts you in a position where you've eaten enough food to where you're not going to be hungry, right? Because you don't only think about the social event, you think about what happens after the social event. So if you go to a social event and you skip it and you don't eat anything, but then later that leaves you extremely hungry and then you go and you binge, then you're probably gonna consume more calories in the long run anyway, right? So what you wanna do is you wanna eat just enough to where you feel satisfied, but you don't overconsume in terms of your calories. What 70% full feels like is you wanna stop when you are starting to feel full, not when you feel full. When you feel full, you're already done. You've already gone too far. The reason why this is called mindful eating is because you have to pay attention as you're eating. You have to think about, okay, what is my hunger signals like at the moment? Do I feel full? How does my stomach feel? And at the start, this is going to take some level of intentional work. It might be a little bit annoying because you just want to switch off, but this is something that you need to practice, right? You need to practice being more in tune with how you feel as you're eating, because if you don't think about it and you let it go too far, you will end up being full without even realizing it. So by the time you finish eating, if you satisfy this correctly, you should feel relatively light. You should feel pretty neutral. You should feel like, oh, I can eat a little bit more, but I don't really need to. I'm like satisfied, okay? So that's the first principle. Principle number two is that you want to focus on protein and vegetable options first if you can. So for example, if you're going to a restaurant or if you're at a barbecue or you can eat function, whatever it is, you want to scan for the options that have some type of lean meat source. So I'm talking like chicken, beef, fish, falafel, tofu, prawns, anything like that. And then you also want to scan for the options that have some type of vegetable, broccoli. I mean, everyone knows what vegetables is, right? And the reason why is because these two things specifically have a satiating effect, which basically means that they help you feel full faster. And when I say this, I'm not saying that carbs are bad, but carbs don't have a satiating effect, meaning that they don't make you feel as full when compared to protein and vegetables. So as a result of this, if you eat your protein and your vegetables first, it means that it's gonna put you in a position where you get to 70% full faster. So what I normally do when I'm at the social event, I will spend the first 50 to 70% of the time trying to prioritize the protein and vegetable options. And then afterwards, as I'm starting to approach that 70% full state, I will then start eating some carbs to like top it up. You wanna eat strategically. You wanna focus on these options first so that you get to 70% full faster. And then once you're close to getting there, that's when you wanna finish it off with some carb options to basically still give yourself that level of enjoyment. Because I mean, who doesn't like carbs? So number three is you want to eat slowly. Again, this is something that you actually have to think about. But what happens is when you are eating and you're chewing and you're swallowing, your body or your stomach needs time to register the fact that you are currently digesting food and food is going into your stomach. Now, what happens is if you eat too fast, your body is not gonna have enough time to actually register that there's food digesting. So as a result of that, it's not going to release those signals of fullness. So when you eat slowly, what happens is you slow your digestion down, you give your body time to register the fact that there's food, and as a result, you will get to 70% full faster. So you'll start to notice a trend here. Every single principle that I'm giving you is a supporting principle for the 70% full, because naturally, if we eat less, then it means that we're gonna consume less calories as a byproduct. So that is our goal. So in order to implement this, you obviously wanna pay attention to how fast you're chewing, doing. You want to make sure that you're not just like grabbing the food as quick as possible or grabbing as much food as you can. Another really good one is focus on talking, right? Like social events is typically used as an opportunity to connect with the people around you. So instead of just going to the social event and just eating, I want you to focus on connecting and communicating with the people around you. That way you get to slow down your eating indirectly. Number 4 is stick to water or zero sugar drinks. Now I think this one's pretty common sense. Obviously the goal is to consume less calories, and when you are consuming water or zero sugar drinks, that is 0 calories, so you can get away with, having a drink and not really impacting your calories too much. Now another strategy that you can also apply is before you actually start eating, when you get to the social event, wherever it may be, try to find yourself water, table water or something like that, and drink 1 or 2 glasses of water. Because what happens is if before you eat, you drink a glass of water, it's going to occupy a little bit of space in your stomach, and as a result, again, it's going to allow you to get to that 70% full state faster. Now the very last thing is when it comes down to things like desserts and things like entrees, but mostly like desserts. I have 3 principles here that I remind people. The first principle is half instead of a whole, 1 instead of 2, and the 3-bite rule. Let's say you are going to have a dessert or you're going to have an entree. You want to apply some type of common sense, meaning that we know the goal is to eat less, right? So that we eat less calories. So if you're going to have a dessert, maybe instead of having the full dessert, have half of the dessert. Ask someone there to share with you. Instead of having 2 pieces of oyster, have 1 oyster, right? So have 1 instead of 2. And then if you can't follow those 2 for whatever reason, or you don't like those 2, then follow the 3-bite rule, which means that you take 3 bites of something, let's say 3 bites of dessert, 3 teaspoons of dessert, 3 sips of a drink or something like that. Because what that allows you to do is it allows you to satisfy your taste curiosity within moderation. You have to understand that enjoying food doesn't come from the amount of food that you eat, but it comes from the taste of the food that you receive. The first bite will always taste the same as the last bite. Okay, now on this side, if you're not sharing, then you need to build the skill of meal selection. So what you need to do is you need to develop the skill of being able to scan a menu and determine, okay, what is a calorie friendly option versus what is not a calorie friendly option. This is the criteria that I run through. Number 1 is look for a meal that's based around a lean protein source. And the reason why is because most meals that are constructed around a lean protein source is typically a lot friendlier. If you go to a steakhouse, for example, it's gonna be steak and mashed potatoes. If you go to a Vietnamese restaurant, it might be a grilled chicken and vermicelli bowl. Or if you go to a Thai restaurant, it might be a chicken pad krapao. Or if you go to a Japanese place, then it might be a teriyaki chicken on rice. And the benefit of this as well is that if you eat a meal that's high in protein, as we know over here, protein is the nutrient that keeps you full. So what happens is you can go to the social event, you can eat a meal that keeps you full so that afterwards you're satisfied until your next meal, and then you're not hungry 30 minutes later, and then you end up binging and then going over your calories. Number 2 is you want to be mindful of options that are deep fried or heavily sauced. Now this might seem common sense, but if something is deep fried or heavily sauced, it can almost double the calories of a meal. So for example, let's say you're picking a chicken. There is a difference between a teriyaki chicken and a katsu chicken. If you have a katsu chicken that has batter on it, that is fried, that is very different to a teriyaki chicken that just has a little bit of teriyaki sauce over it. The calorie implications are completely different. So when you're looking at the menu, you want to not only pick a option that's based around a lean protein source, but you also want to try and prioritize picking an option that isn't fried or has an extreme level of sauce over it. Now, a couple of other things as well is remember that you can also modify the meal. So what I mean by modifying the meal is that, let's say for example, you order a steak and chips. Instead of doing the steak and chips, just ask for the waiter to replace the chips with a salad. Or alternatively, what you could do is if there is some type of sauce, you can ask for sauce on the side. Some restaurants, they might have like sauce over their steak or whatever it is. Just ask them to put it on the side just to ensure that you can dip it, and that will help you conserve calories as well. And as a fourth option, I would always encourage you to actually go for a main dish. And the reason why is because I think most people would be tempted to just go for something in the children's menu or something that's smaller, because technically if you eat something smaller, then you're going to consume less calories. But you have to understand that if you consume something like super small and you leave that social event and you're not like at least 70% full, you're going to end up eating afterwards. So the goal here is to pick a dish that is friendly in terms of calories, but also it has enough portion to keep you satisfied for a decent amount of time after the social event. So I would always prioritize choosing a main dish because of that. Now that we've gone through the two options, I will say that if you could put yourself in the scenario where you're able to select your own dish, that is always the better option, because it allows you to be in a little bit more control. But like at the end of the day, you're not gonna have the ability to like pick and choose. It just depends on the social event, right? So if you are sharing, then you go towards mindful eating. Whereas if you're not sharing, you have to learn the skill of meal selecting. And this is why it's so important for you to determine beforehand, right? Before you go to the social event, you should be looking ahead at where you're eating and kind of determining like what you're going to order, so that when you get there, you know exactly what you're going to order and you don't need to make any decisions in the moment. The next thing that we're going to go through is how to actually manage your day of eating around the social event. So on a day that you have a social event, how do you construct the remaining day of eating? The priority on these days is always to consume meals that are low in calorie and also high in protein. Now, the reason why is because when you are going to eat a meal out, we can naturally make the assumption that meals which are eaten out will be higher in calorie, which means that the meals that you eat outside of your social event should be lower in calorie in order to balance that out. Now, another thing as well is that when we are trying to lose weight, we're not just trying to lose weight, we're trying to lose body fat. And the way that we ensure that we're losing body fat is to ensure that we're eating enough protein. So in terms of the meals that you want to eat, you want to base your meals around either a protein plus a vegetable or a protein plus a fruit. And again, the reason why you want to do this is because the protein source obviously gives you the protein, it keeps you full throughout the day, and the vegetables and fruit gives you fiber. And fiber is something that also slows down your digestion, it keeps you full. But not only that, these vegetable and fruits are typically very low in calories. So you can get away with eating a lot of portion or a lot of volume, but not consuming a lot of calories. Now, just to give you an example of what I typically do, and I pretty much always do this whenever I have a social event, for breakfast, I will have yogurt with berries. So as you can see, it's protein plus fruit. And then as a snack, I'll have 2 scoops of protein powder. Again, this is pure protein. And then for lunch or for dinner, depending on, you know, when my social event is, I will typically have a meal around a lean meat plus veg. And normally what I'll do in my house is I will have pre-packaged or pre-made chicken ready in the fridge. If you go to any supermarket, normally there will be a section in the deli where they serve packaged chicken breasts that it's in like 150 gram or 200 gram packets. So I'll buy a couple of that and I'll leave it in my house, or most of the time I already have like marinated meat in my fridge that I can just, you know, air fry really quickly. And then from there, I'll just pair that with either a pre-made salad bowl that I can buy from the supermarket. As you can tell, I'm pretty lazy, I don't like to cook. Or alternatively, I'll just microwave some microwavable veg. Again, if you go to the supermarket, you'll be able to find pre-packaged packets of vegetables that you can just microwave. So I will combine a lean meat with the vegetable, and that will be my meal. You'll notice in this day of eating that I do not include any carbs. And the reason why I do not include any carbs is not because carbs are bad, but it's because number one, typically when you go out and eat, meals will be heavier in carbs and fats when compared to protein. And because I know that I'm going to go to the social event and there's going to be more carbs and fats, I will prioritize having more protein and fiber throughout the day so I can balance out those 3 macronutrients. So for this day of eating specifically, if I was to eat yogurt and berries, this would probably be 200 calories. 2 scoops of protein would probably be around 250 calories, and lean meat and vegetables would typically be around 350 to 400 calories. Under this scenario, we would approximately eat around 850 calories in the day. Now, for most people who are trying to lose lose weight, they will probably fall in the range of anywhere between 1600 to 2000 calories. And by eating 850 calories earlier on in the day, it gives you more room or more calories to actually enjoy at the social event. So this is how I would reverse engineer the rest of your day of eating. Now, the last thing to finish off, which is your mindset. I know mindset is a topic that not everyone cares too much about, but hopefully I've given you enough value to where you're going to stick around and actually listen, because honestly, this is the most important part and it's the thing that messes everyone up. So what should your mindset be before the social event? Number one, you have to set expectations. So again, you must rank your social event on a scale of 1 to 10. How important is it? And determine, okay, am I going to go to this social event compromising, or am I just going to enjoy myself? It's very important that you set those expectations up front, because that is what keeps you accountable. If you just go to the social event and you just wing it, it means that you have no sense of accountability and you're just putting your goals up to chance. So set your expectations. Number two is plan in advance. Now, what I mean by this is be proactive, right? Depending on where you're going, ask your friends and family, hey, where are we going? Where are we eating? If you know the restaurant, look at the menu, double check. Again, you want to reduce the need for you to make decisions at the social event, because when we are in an environment where it's fun and we're around people that we like, we're typically very easily influenced. So it's very important that you reduce the amount of decisions that you have to make at the social event, and it will also put you in a position where it's a lot easier to stand your ground if people start questioning you. Now, what should your mindset be during the social event? The first thing is to remember that you have a goal. Remember that you are in a season right now where you are trying to lose weight. That is not a process that's going to go on forever. Remember that right now you are currently working towards a goal, and as a result, you may have to make some compromises in order to achieve that goal. Now, this is where number two comes in. This is extremely important, which is you have to take ownership. Don't be the type of person who goes to these social events or in general just complains about the fact that it's hard. Don't complain about the fact that, oh, I feel like I can't live my life. I feel like I don't have balance. I feel like I can't just eat whatever I want, because that is the point. You are making a decision to work towards a goal that's going to make you feel more confident, make you feel more comfortable in your own skin. It's going to allow you to build a body that you're proud of. You are the person who made that decision. So you have to understand that all of this is a choice. You are the person that's choosing to work towards your goal, and no one is forcing you. So just understand that if you are choosing to compromise, then it is for the short term and it is a decision that you made. Just try to control yourself and refrain yourself from the temptation to continuously complain. And number three is always just be mindful. I know this one is very common sense, but the biggest mistake that most people make at social events is they just switch their brain off. Again, you are prioritizing a goal. It's going to require some effort. So when you go to these social events, turn your brain on and just remind yourself, hey, I'm working towards a goal. I'm trying to lose weight. And if you just remind yourself of that as you're going through the social event, it will keep your actions in check. Now, the very last thing is, what should your mindset be after the social event? The most important thing, you have to remind yourself that one day does not ruin your progress. Let's say that you eat out twice per week. Assuming that you eat 3 meals a day over 7 days, that's 21 meals. If you eat 2 meals out, that means that's 2 meals out of 21 meals, which is 9% of your week. So the results that you get isn't necessarily going to come from the 9% of your week. It's going to come from the 91% of your week. And as long as you are applying all of the mindful strategies that I taught you in this video in the 9%, it's going to put you in a position where this 9% will not sabotage this 91%. So remember, one day does not ruin your progress, and what matters more is what you're doing in the majority of your week. Number two is that you have to be wary of weight fluctuations. Now, obviously, when we're trying to lose weight, the main metric of progress that we use is the weight on the scale. But the weight on the scale doesn't always determine your progress, because when you eat out, naturally these foods are higher in salt, they use certain levels of seasonings, they have oil, they may utilize food sources that you're not really used to eating. So as a result of that, you can always expect that your weight will jump up the next day, but that's not because you've gained body fat or anything like that. It's simply just because your body is retaining water as a result of the salt, the oil, the seasonings, the food sources, or just the increase in food volume in your stomach. So do not let that derail you completely, which leads me to point number three, which is just to get back on track with your plan. No matter what happens at a social event, you have to understand that you only have one way to respond. The only thing that you can do is get back on track, because if you don't get back on track, then the only other option for you is to not get back on track and to give up completely. So what determines your success over your weight loss journey is not about what happens at the social event, it's about how you respond. So the next day, what you should be doing is getting back on track with your plan, getting back on track with your calorie target, getting back on track with your normal day of eating, which, like I said earlier in the video, is what foods are you going to eat, how much are you going to eat of those food sources in order to hit your calories. So it's just very important that the next day you simply get back on track with your plan. Now, as a final reminder, managing your social events is a skill. It is not something that comes naturally, it is something that you have to practice. But if you are someone who is willing to put in the time and the effort in order to integrate all of this into your day-to-day, it will mean that you will have the ability to not only lose weight in an enjoyable way, but you will also have the skill sets to be able to keep it off long term.